you a fan of this podcast? Do you wish there was even more juicy content for you to sink your ears into? Well, there is. You can become a premium member of this podcast for $5.99 a month and get full access to an archive of over 50 bonus episodes. Additionally, we release a bonus episode every single month. That's a ton of extra content, including my personal interior design diaries, extra tips, my talking about trends, and so much more. Additionally, you'll be keeping us on the airwaves each and every week because your premium membership money goes directly back to making this podcast amazing. Check us out at affordableinteriordesign.com. Click on podcast to learn more and to become a premium member today.
You don't need a high-end designer or a lot of money to get a luxe look. Be your own interior designer.
This is Affordable Interior Design, the podcast.
Here's your host, Betsy Helmuth.
Hi, everyone. I hope you're doing well. Hope you're getting ready for Halloween. You're in the pumpkin spirit. You've got gourds, you've got garlands. Good for you. I myself am still mourning the end of summer, still coming to terms with the fact that I will not have another beach day. But I'm so excited to be here with you guys and to be in Connecticut. There's no better place to be in the fall. So if I have to be anywhere when the leaves are changing, I might as well be right here with festivals and all sorts of fun things to do every single weekend. Well, guys, you have been sending in your wonderful questions, and my favorite thing to do is answer them. So without further ado, I'll head into this mailbag, but you're wondering to yourself, Betsy, how can I send you a question? I have so many design dilemmas. Well, you'll go to affordableinteriordesign.com/podcast. Once again, that's affordableinteriordesign.com/podcast. There you'll see a little form. You just click, you fill it out, you attach some pictures if you like, and I will get to your question very, very soon. All right, without further ado, let me get to the questions I've already got right here. The first one comes from Mayan, and Mayan's writing from Houston, Texas. She says, "Hi, Betsy. I'm currently decorating my home with a shabby chic feel. My home is a small, open concept space with a big wall full of windows that face the yard. Some are seated windows and others are thin and tall. We currently have blinds, but I do not like the look. I want curtains, but I don't want to overwhelm the space. How can I decorate these windows? Please help." Well, first of all, Mayan, I do not blame you for being anxious and having questions. Dressing windows is very complicated. It's not always straightforward, and each window has its own challenges. And when we're trying to design a space that has many, many windows, how do we make this space feel cohesive while treating the windows differently because they are different? Now, in your case, I'm scrolling through these pictures, and yes, you have one very long wall that has, in this picture, 5 windows on it, but one of the windows is more inset. It has a deeper ledge. Now, I would not call it like a seated window by any chance, or by any means, I mean. And I don't know what you meant by seated window. I was thinking window seat. But looking at these pictures, I don't see anything like that here. So I'm just seeing a series of windows, one of which has a deeper ledge. But the other thing that's exciting me is that these windows tend to be at the same height visually. So I actually think we can treat these windows very similarly. I think this is a pretty easy solve. So I'm excited about that. Now, as you know from listening to this podcast for eons, and if you haven't been listening for eons, well, what are you waiting for? There's nearly 400 episodes for you to sink your teeth into. But this is going to be very straightforward. What I would do is you have, an L shape. As I mentioned, there's that long wall that has 4 very similar windows. Then in the dining room, it has a slightly deeper ledge, but it's the same height and it's 3 windows kind of right in a row together. And then the wall perpendicular to that leads out, well, it looks out, excuse me, onto the patio is one of the same windows that we saw in that line of windows on that big wall. So everything is at relatively the same height, give or take an inch. Everything has been treated with white slatted blinds. And in my opinion, a fully dressed window has both blinds and drapes. Now, the blinds are meant to be manipulated, opened, closed, louvered, depending on what type of light and privacy you want, whereas the drapes tend to stay at the side, flank the window, add color, pattern, texture, height, but they aren't typically manipulated. You wouldn't typically close them unless you need blackout or unless your windows are quite drafty. And so you're wanting to prevent that air from getting in. Yeah, you would just leave them at the side so that they kind of frame the window nicely. Now, what I like to do when I'm treating windows or when I'm deciding how to treat a window is I go to the most complicated window. So the most complicated window can mean the one closest to the corner. It can mean the one that's kind of the oddest in shape, like the dining room window that has 3 windows stuck together. It can mean one that sort of sticks out as different. In this case, the one that sticks out as most different is that dining room window that is a little bit inset with the deeper ledge. I would say it has a 6-inch ledge and the other windows have a 3-inch ledge. So it's not even all that different, right? But the other difference for this window is that the glass doesn't go all the way to the sides with the window frame. There is a piece of wall that's, again, about 6 inches between the side of the window frame and the corner of the window box or where the ledge begins. So I would say that that's a little bit different as well. Keeping those 2 things in mind, I would do... Okay, let me tell you something else. Did you guys put on your thinking caps today? There's one other thing I feel like I might want to tell you. I'm on the fence here. Now, I'm going to assume that you're never going to draw these drapes. But if I look at the other side of this deep dining room window, I can see that there's only about 8 inches from the window box, right, to the corner of the room. And that's troubling me, maybe not. No, I'm not going to let it trouble me because what I would do here in this much wider window is I would use a double wide panel. Typically, you want double the width of drapery that you have width of window. And I'm going to guesstimate here that you have like 115 inches of window in terms of the width. That's just a guesstimate. Between 100 and 115. So that means that each panel needs to be 100 or 115. And we know that panels come in between 40 and 50 so inch widths. So we would need 2 double wide panels. That means that each panel would be 100 inches on either side of this long dining room window. And we would hang the rod up above the window box and hang it so that it brushes the floor. Now, what we want to do is go with a standard size of drape. You don't want to have to get this hemmed. So hopefully you'll find something. I'm eyeballing this and thinking the 96-inch range would work well. Because if the 96 doesn't work, then you have to go 108. And I think you'd have to get it hemmed at that point. So anyway, I would hang the rod, the bracket on the rod, outside the window box like 4 inches, because that will cover that weird space between the window frame and the corner of the window inset box where it meets the ledge. Meaning, I know this is kind of granular, guys. I hope you guys had coffee. Meaning that we're not going to see that weird piece of window. Meaning that this is going to give it a much more homogeneous look with the other windows because the other windows are going to be so much easier to treat. So we went 4 inches outside, and we'll do the same thing on the other side of the window, 4 inches outside so that it covers that weird little void and it's going to brush the floor. Then with all the other windows, you're going to hang the rod at the same height that you did the dining room window, as well as having them brush. The amount outside could vary, although in this case, I don't think it should. I would do 4 inches outside, but on these windows, you'll do a single panel wide drape because these are much narrower windows. I'm eyeballing it at 36 inches wide. That will be the perfect thing and will make everything really flow. We'll really break up this long wall of windows and add color, pattern, texture, softness. I think the room desperately needs window treatments. So I'm glad you wrote in. And even though that was a very long-winded explanation, I hope it's applied to a lot of your situations for those of you listening, because window treatments are very tricky. And once you know some of the rules, you're able to apply them to lots of different scenarios. So I've shared lots of different rules. So hopefully you guys can find a nugget or a bit of information that will work for your situation.
And now it's time for a quick commercial break.
Do you love this podcast? Do you wish you could learn even more? Well, we have an online class bundle. Our online class bundle is comprised of 3 online classes: Beautifying Your Home for Less, Styling Your Home, and the Fundamentals of Feng Shui. Each one of those 3 classes is between 30 and 45 minutes long and chock-filled with visuals and tips, things that will help you to style your own space or help out with other spaces. Additionally, with the pack of 3 classes, you get an autographed copy of my book, Affordable Interior Design. You get all of that for only $99. Once again, that's the 3 online classes as well as the book for only $99. You just go to affordableinteriordesign.com/classes. Once again, affordableinteriordesign.com/classes to buy your bundle today. And if one of those classes sounded intriguing, but maybe you already have my book or some of the other topics are not of interest, you can buy the classes individually at that site as well. Each class is $40. So head over to affordableinteriordesign.com/classes to get your bundle or your online class today. My next question is coming from Benjamin, and he is writing from La Mirada, California. Hi, Betsy. I love listening to your show on my way to work. Your voice sounds so calming to me. I love your storytelling, and your solutions are always spot on. My wife and I have a dilemma on what color to paint our staircase handrails on the staircase and entrance. Currently, it's a red oak with white spindles and newels. The staircase risers and treads are also red oak, as well as our living room floors and front door, which are also red oak. We want to update the area by getting rid of all the red oak, except for the floor. Our design is traditional transitional with rosewood furnishings. Should we paint the handrails and front door all in white to match the spindles and newels? Or should we paint the handrails a glossy black or dark brown to match the furniture? But then we feel it wouldn't match the staircase steps, as we're going to keep the floors the red oak. Please help us. Thank you for your time and good luck with your pregnancy. Wishing you a happy, healthy baby. Well, thank you, Benjamin, so much. I really appreciate that. Now, when looking at these pictures, the floors are a pretty big visual element in your space. And typically, I keep all the architectural elements, so the handrails, the stairs, the floors, the same in terms of the finishes, right? And then the furniture does not have to match. Guys, your architecture in terms of the wood floor stain does not have to match your furniture. In fact, sometimes that can feel too matchy-matchy. So I am totally fine with the furniture not matching these elements. The thing that is bothering me is that these pieces of staircase would then not match the flooring, which to me feels quite incongruous. And you mentioned in your note that your style leans more towards, transitional, traditional. And I worry that painting it black in terms of the handrail would just feel very severe. Now, I understand if this color of wood is not your favorite, but what I would be more inclined to do is do a stairway runner, which is like a carpeted stairway, going all the way up that will conceal quite a bit of this wood. And then I would leave the post painted white, and I definitely think you could paint the front door. So I think the front door being the same tone is not a necessity, but I think it will feel very odd if you're changing the color of the stairs and handrail and don't change the color of the flooring. If you really don't like this color and you're going to be here a long time, it may be worth changing the color of the flooring. But in my opinion, and based on the question you asked, I would go with the path of least resistance, right? And add a stairway runner and paint the front door. Now, the front door typically would be painted the same color as the trim, right? Or depending on what the front of the front door is, you could do a fun color, something like that. But I think this is the opportunity to break free. I also think that you could consider adding more rugs, painting this main area a different color, just to draw your eye away from the flooring if resanding and restaining the floor just isn't in your budget. It might be a way to help detract, because right now this floor is very featured because it's so uncovered, because there's so much of it. I would challenge your furniture layout. So the next time you write me, maybe write me with some furniture layout questions, because I think a nice big rug under the dining table would be quite impressive. I think a larger rug showcasing the living area would be really nice. And this is a big open concept space for those of you not seeing the pictures on YouTube. When we have big open concept spaces, it can be tempting to carve out tiny corners or tiny vignettes within the space on little rugs. But really, we want to make each zone feel as large as it is, while still allowing for a 3-foot walkway between the zones. So I'm not suggesting wall-to-wall carpeting or having a carpet that just leaves you with a little narrow runway on which you can walk. I do think you do need to separate these with ample space. But you've left too much space. Between the edge of the living room rug and the piano, there's at least 6 feet. And so it's making that living room look so small and dinky. And what's further emphasizing the fact that your living room is kind of small and dinky, even though it could be made larger visually with that rug, and it is a good size square foot wise, is that you have these huge vaulted ceilings. I mean, I think these ceilings are between 15 and 18 feet high. And so, we really want to rise to the occasion, not only by expanding kind of our furniture and making it fit the scale of the space, but also going a little bit higher with our artwork. So you have artwork that's not very tall, and it's really dwarfing the walls, dwarfing the space. So I would want you to focus on some more vertical pieces. I would also want you to focus on maybe some out of scale, large scale pieces, the large mirror. I think right now your furniture is playing as if it was in an 8-foot high room with small little rooms. And instead you've got this big open concept space, and you're really not bringing a big picture or big vision to it. So I know that's a lot more than you asked, Benjamin. And now you're in your car driving to work or whatever, and you're so frustrated. You're like, Betsy, this was much more than I bargained for, and I don't want to make any of those changes. But I think you're focusing on all the wrong things, Benjamin. And I think by refocusing on these problems that I think are much more dire, you're going to get a better effect. Everyone, if you don't want to hear the truth, don't write into me. And if you are ready for the truth, then please send me your questions. affordableinteriordesign.com/podcast. Until next time, everybody. Bye.
You've asked for it, and we have answered the call. For years, you've been saying, Betsy, You're talking about all these great design concepts, but we can't visualize them. You're describing the picture that the listener sent in of their problem, and we wish we could see that picture too. After all, a picture is worth 1,000 words, and I do my best to describe them, but there's nothing like seeing it for yourself. And that's why Affordable Interior Design, the podcast, now has a YouTube channel. Not only do we have a YouTube channel where you could see recordings and clips of these podcast episodes, we also have an Instagram, a Facebook, and so many other exciting things. You should check it out. Head over to affordableinteriordesign.com/links. Once again, affordableinteriordesign.com/LINKS. links. And when you go there, you will see links to our YouTube page, our Instagram page, our Facebook page, and more. Please check it out, follow and subscribe so you can see everything I'm talking about.
A big thank you to our amazing producer, Catherine Heller, to Aton and the MVCR House Band, and to Affordable Interior Design, the sponsor of this podcast and the premier place to get an amazing look on a budget. Check out affordableinteriordesign.com. If you guys love the show, the very best way to support us is by spreading the word. Tell your friends or write us an awesome review on iTunes. So until next week, guys, thanks so much for joining us, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.